Welcome to It's Your Choice. Today's episode is I'm Thinking of a Feeling, where we'll talk about how our emotions and our reason can pull us in totally different directions and make deciding difficult. The key to better decision-making is being open to using both heart and head to frame your approach.
Nicole, guess what I'm doing this weekend?
What?
Getting a puppy.
No way!
Yeah, I can't wait.
When did you decide that?
2 days ago.
Roger.
Oh, stop it, Nicole. He's gonna be so much fun to play with.
Sure, but I can't help thinking about how much it would cost to feed him and who would let him out if I was late and where we could store the dog food.
You should look at things differently than I do. You're way more practical.
Yeah, I tend to be like that.
Even when I'm trying to be practical, I just wind up thinking of things like, he'll keep me company, and I want to name him Bongo.
That same sort of thing happens to me when I'm struggling with my feelings. Like when I get a great new outfit and want to wear it over to my aunt's for her birthday dinner, but I don't because I know we're going to eat spaghetti and cake, which makes a total mess. I want to look good, but I don't want to wreck my new clothes. And when this happens, it almost seems like I have an argument with myself. My heart tries to make its case, but my head side usually wins.
Just so that we're clear here, when we say heart, we're talking about focusing on things like feelings and emotions, right? And when we say head, we're talking about more practical, rational issues, like you just did with how the puppy is going to get walked and fed.
Exactly.
When my head and my heart are pulling me in different directions, I usually take a deep breath and follow my heart.
And how does that work out for you?
Okay.
Even when it turns out that your heart was a little too impulsive, what happens then?
Then I get a lot of, I told you so, from my own head.
Yeah, I thought so. But I have to admit, sometimes I don't feel quite right about my decisions after I've made them. I think everybody has moments when their head and heart don't agree.
So what do we do about this?
Well, it's difficult, because some of us have a natural tendency just to follow our hearts and do our best to ignore the objections our more practical selves are raising.
And some of us have a tendency to just follow our heads and tell our hearts to get over it, because our head really knows best.
But we want to use both. And when we don't, we fall into another one of those pesky decision traps.
Not another one.
Yep. This is the habitual frame trap. It's when we approach all problems or decisions in the same way, regardless of whether or not it's the best approach. While it's true that some decisions are more about analysis and research, others are more about paying attention to feelings. But most decisions benefit from considering both. Let's try a little experiment we did on the show last year.
If someone offered you your choice of these puppies, how would you respond? A good way to start is by making a list of questions you'd want to consider as you make this decision. Take a few minutes and write down the questions that come to mind right now.
So what sort of things did people say when you did this last year?
The people who did this experiment last year had questions like, which one will be big enough to protect me? Which will shed the least? Which will fit into one of those cute little tote bags? Which one could learn to play frisbee? Which one would get along with the cat next door? And what will my parents say?
While some of these come from the head and others from the heart, I also noticed that it seems like some questions are a mix. Like the question about the cat next door. Is this about the puppy having a new friend? Or is it about possible trouble he can get into if he chases that cat?
Good point. Some are both.
So looking at the kinds of questions you come up with helps you understand how you approach decisions.
Here's a video clip that gives a real-life example of what we're talking about.
Just in general in school, I really like the subject like math, and I had like a really hard math class. It was really hard, and I was deciding if I should drop it or not to go into like the easiest math class I've ever taken, and I would have been bored out of my mind. So like that was really like logically it would make sense for me to drop it if I was going to fail the hard class. But then like my heart was like, I really want to stay in this because I can learn so much and I just love math. And so it was really hard for me to like balance it out, and I got really conflicted, and I ended up changing my mind twice. So like I dropped it and then I went back into it, and then it was really complicated. And so like the logical part of me said to drop it. So like I dropped it and then I went into this really horrible easy class, and I was like so like out of it. I just hated the class so much. And then that was when my heart came out. I didn't really realize that before I dropped it. And then like after my heart came in, then I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. So I went back in, and then so I think like before I didn't even realize the heart and mind balance, and then I realized that my heart was saying something different once I actually was put into that situation.
Grace says that if she just went with her head on this, she would take the easier course and coast to an A.
But she also says if she just followed her heart, she would take the harder class because she actually loves math.
Ugh, this is a tough one.
So she asked for your advice. What would you tell her to do?
I would probably tell Grace to make a list of the things that are important to her as she makes this decision, and then look at the list to see whether or not she has a balance of both head and heart issues.
I'd do the same thing.
The good thing about Grace's decision is that she can actually try out the easier class, and then if she doesn't like it, she can transfer back into the harder class.
Unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way. We usually can't back up and change our minds if we don't like the result of our decision.
All the more reason to pay attention to our own preferences and habits. The more time we spend getting to know ourselves when the stakes are small, the more we'll be able to make the choices that are better for us when the stakes are bigger and there are no do-overs.
Look at your list of issues around the puppy decision. Make a note next to each question to indicate whether it's focused on head, heart, or both. Then write a short reflection on whether you think you normally approach decisions from the head or the heart, and how you would get better at using both.
You know, I'm starting to rethink the puppy decision, but I really want to take him to the park and play with him all the time, and all the ladies would love me even more than they do now.
Yeah, right. Well, there's some good heart stuff. Now let's hear from your head.
I hate to admit it, but I don't have much money right now. I don't have a yard for him to play in, and I don't know where I'll be moving after I'm done with school in a couple of years. So who knows if I'd even be able to keep him.
Those all sound like solid, practical concerns.
And my roommate would be upset with me because he hates dogs, which would make me really unhappy, which is another heart reason, but it actually goes against bringing home a puppy.
So even your heart side has some objections to getting a puppy right now.
Yeah, it does. I'd love to get a dog, but I have to admit it might not be the best idea right now.
Today we talked about how important it is to consider both head and heart when making decisions. Sometimes our emotions and our reasons pull us in completely different directions, which can make deciding difficult. But being aware that the best approach to a decision is considering both what your head says and what your heart says is a useful tool.
Looks like you need a new plan for the weekend, Raj.
Yeah, but, I wonder how my roommate would feel about a kitten.
Well, Roger, it's your choice.